It is bitterly cold, bitterly cold in the shed. I am freezing, and I thought I would do another one of these because I have done one not that long ago, and it went really well. This time I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Here's a little bit of sorry about that. Some behind the scenes stuff. I have my tea here, but I also have. I can show you guys.
All my most viewed.
Here's some behind the scenes if you've made it this far. This is my Instagram page as of the date of recording this. Hello, MinH7. How are you, mate? Just thought I would do one. I've got a few questions I put up on my Instagram before that I would answer. Man, it is cold. It's so cold in the shed, bitterly cold. Anyway, I thought I would go through some of those questions that you guys have asked me. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer some questions in the chat. So you guys can see, here's an image of what you guys might not see normally. So this is from my perspective. Hello, 47. How are you, mate? Yeah, I don't know. I showed this off once before. I thought this would be cool to show you guys. This is from my perspective. Hello, Jack. How are you, mate? I don't know if that sort of thing interests you. This is what my notifications looks like. This is like the CommodoreMan Facebook. It's just always, I can't keep up with it, with people's love for Australian cars. But anyway, I'll get into a question. Hello, Dallas. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining. Where is my... All right, so... Hello, Martin Jones. How are you, mate? So I have here a list of questions that people have asked me on my Instagram story. So I thought I would answer some of these. Otherwise, I'd be happy to answer anyone in the chat as well. So my first question is from Charles, sorry. It's a bit hard. Hello, Holden Mancy. How are you, mate? Somebody said, Charles says, would I ever make content on Magnas? Yeah, I would, actually. But because Magnas have been kind of... Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. I really do. Because Magnas have been... like a $500 runaround for 20 years. It is very hard to find a good Magna. And I've really only got interest in doing videos on Magnas if they're like a total minter, or they're got like 1 million Ks on them. I'd love to, mate. I'd love to, Dallas. I don't mind saying it in live. I think I've got... Oh, no. It's hard to keep track. I think I might have one booked in Victoria, but I can't remember, actually. Maybe not. Brisbane, Vegas too. That's funny. So I'm actually... I'm going to put a post about it very soon, but I'm going to Canberra, actually, very soon, in the next couple of days. There's actually a James May show there, and I really, really wanted to go. Oh, awesome. HCT Brock. Looking for a car show to go. October in Adelaide. That sounds good, actually. I don't think I've got all this. I'll write that down. I'll go back through and... Yeah, that would be sick. But yeah, I I'd love to do a Group A. I am going to Sydney very soon for a very special VL Walkinshaw. Not just any VL Walkinshaw, a very, very special one. And yeah, I'm really excited to show you guys that one. I think it's worth me travelling to Sydney for. What do I think of? What do I think of cyclists? Not a fan, typically, if I'm honest. I respect the sport, and if it's a lone cyclist, 99% of the time it's no problem. The only time it ever annoys me, and this happens all the time where I live. In fact, I've got recordings of it that I really struggled whether I sort of upload it. But where I live, people always ride like 2 or 3 side by side, and it's that does my head in. Makes me so angry. Hello, Chris. How are you, mate? Has a WA purple. A purple Magna. I don't know if I've seen that many of those. I don't know if I've seen any. But yeah, Barra Territories. I don't know much about drifting them, that's for sure. Some lady was stuck and she had a Barra Territory just a couple of days ago, and I went to jumpstart her, and the car wouldn't turn over at all. I mean, as far as I'm aware, other than the rear end, like under suspension and stuff, really the only problem those cars have is fuel consumption. Oh really? What car show was that, mate? I haven't been to any in a while. Yeah, I don't know. Car shows are great. I just have to be in the mood for them. I have to be in the mood. But usually I'm pretty happy. No, I believe the Echuca Museum has closed, mate, Edward. In fact, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm very confident it has. I had one of the cars from that museum in here, but it's just gone a few days ago to get painted, the 4-cylinder VN. Killer Cars and Colours. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, if anyone's watching this, if you ever see me at a car show or anything, I absolutely welcome if you guys want to say hello or anything like that. It's actually pretty crazy. I get recognised every day, pretty much without fail. Although it always seems to be when I'm doing something that's nothing to do with cars, buying cat litter or at the bank or something boring. Nothing with cars. What do I think about Heathcote getting shut down? It is a shame because in Victoria there is very limited outlets for people. And I'll be honest, it's not, that whole scene is not really for me. However, it is for a lot of people, and it is a shame that it's happened, and it's probably the direction that a lot of them are going to go. And I think that it's a mistake because it's probably not there for, I don't know too much about it, if I'm honest. But I think closing those kind of things down is a bugger because a lot of people just do it on the street instead. Series 1. Oh, that's awesome, mate. Series 1 or Series 2 CV8. Very cool. Thank you, mate. Unfortunately, the Premier is not mine. I would love for it to be mine. It is. Look, it's hard to explain on the channel. It's not my car, but my mate has bought it to help me have videos for the channel. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that, mate. Hello, how are you, mate? Thoughts on Euro hot hatches, Astra VXR and Focus XR5s. Very cool. Look, all of those kind of Euro stuff, I haven't really driven many. I have driven a Focus. The only thing with Euro cars that worries me is servicing and maintenance. But look, if you've got one as a toy and you know that kind of stuff yeah, then I guess there's nothing wrong with it. There's no doubt though, and this is the same with a lot of those Euro stuff, is there's no doubt they're fun. They're fun to drive, they'd be fast. It would only be reliability, and because we're in Australia, getting a lot of that Euro stuff would just be really expensive. And actually that reminds me, I saw a Citroen yesterday just on traffic, and it was a little hot hatch one, and I thought, I haven't seen a Citroen in years. Anyway, I'll quickly jump. This is my main phone, and I've only just bloody dropped it, which is a bugger. You've got to see, just smashed the back of it like an idiot. Oh, awesome. VZ Ute X cop car. Wonder what the Ute's used for. That's interesting. I don't know much about the Ute police cars. About Troy Candy. Look, of course I am sad what he does to some HSVs. However, and this is the thing, like, first of all, he's earned all his money, and I think it is admirable to see the journey from where he's gone to where he is. So I really like that. And at the end of the day, that's what HSVs were built for. And arguably, maybe it's better than them sitting in a shed, never being enjoyed. So even though it's not my taste of cars, I can still appreciate it. But I would much rather have a stocker. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, and it's good it's much better that he does a skid with them or whatever than just destroys them, like some of the American creators. So I'm glad that he doesn't do that. I'm glad you saved it, CommodoreMan 33. The progress on the VX giveaway, actually, believe it or not, it's going to Vic Roads Monday, I think. Monday or Tuesday. It's got a roadworthy now. It's ready to go. Got new tyres. It's pretty good to go. I didn't do a very good job of doing that, if I'm honest. I bought the car for nothing, and rather than try and flip it, because the running gear and it drives like such a good car. It's got full service history, and it's really straight. There's no dings on it, but the paint is just terrible. That's the truth. And so I wanted that car to go to somebody who needs help. But I just had too much on my plate at the same time, moving factories and moving house, and then Scotty got really sick and all this other stuff. It was a low priority, if I'm honest, but now it's good to go, and I'll make a video when it's done. But one thing I didn't think about is with giveaway cars, because I'm targeting somebody that is less fortunate, it kind of seems gross to film it and make money out of doing that. I don't mind making money, and if I'm giving away cars, I've got to. But that particular car, what am I going to film someone that's struggling? And I didn't like that. So I'll make a video when it's done, and sort of prove that I've done it. But I'll leave it there, I think, because otherwise, like it just seems wrong. I'm sure you guys get it. Hello, Matt Farr. How are you, mate? I have a mate who lives near. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Lack of amenities and stuff. Well, and you know what? The other thing is, a lot of people are doing it tough, and they might still be okay. They might still have a roof over their head, and they might still have food on the table, but they might not be able to spend a couple $100 in fuel and all of those extra expenses that would come with going to Heathcote. So it's hard to blame anyone, really. CV6 Monaros. Look, I've never driven one. I've only driven a V8 one. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of cool, kind of collectible in their own way, but 47, what is a car? Yes, Bean Bro, I can see your text. What is a car that is way out of my budget? I'd love I'd love a VL turbo. Like, I think I can make that happen sooner rather than later, but I've just got adult stuff to focus on first. A VL turbo like Hector Khabib's, that was one of the best cars, or the most fun cars. Maybe not best, but it was so fun. Family member cammed. That's awesome, Ollie. It's very cool. You're welcome to join the car club, mate. You're welcome to. Do you think it's wrong that these move? Thank you, Bean Bro. Appreciate that, mate. Do I think it's wrong that Americans are reporting Commodores and HSVs? I believe their rule is it has to be 25 years or older. Look, it is a shame, obviously, but what are you going to do? A lot of countries around the world have that 25-year rule. We don't have that rule, but we have like a historic number plates rule, and that kind of makes any car that hits 25 years be sort of a little bit more collectible because you can have them with cheap registration. What else? Hello, William. How are you, mate? Thank you for following. How many cars are in here? 11. But they're not all mine, though. All the shit ones are mine. Oh, that's not completely true. But I've got enough cars anyway. I'm already... Oh, it's very cold here. That's true, Ollie. I don't know how many Americans would be importing a Holden 5 litre. Because they have, I mean, they're the king of V8s, really. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that, mate. I certainly do, DK. It is bloody freezing in here. Well, Dave, you know what? My daily driver is a Falcon, believe it or not. So, you're welcome here. So, what one's in the shed of mine? I guess I can bring you with me. Why not? Nothing has really changed too much recently. Again, we're not talking big dollar cars here, but sorry, excuse me. We're not talking big dollar cars, but these are what's mine. This one, this is a V6 VX Bellina. I'm the second owner. I bought this off I bought this off a lady in her late 70s off a winery, and the car had never spent a night outside, which is pretty cool. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. I did use it as a daily for a long time, and it's such a good car. It is a little bit dirty and stuff, but this VK is mine. It's got no engine, but other than that, it's a complete car, no rust, interior's complete. I really, really want to get stuck into this. And I've got some other people, nothing's announced yet, but there's a lot of people coming and helping me with this stuff, so I'm really excited for them to join. This is where I've just been filming. This ute is mine. We're right in the middle of putting a head unit in it. So that's happening, and then once the hoist is here, which is happening anytime soon, I've got a manual conversion for this car, so that'll go in, and then this can go back on the road because it's leaking oil really bad. Yeah. Am I putting a 5 litre in the VK? No, I've already got a motor built for it. It's just in my other small shed. It is a injected 202 with an Aussie 4-speed. Conquest hatchback. That's awesome, Bill. I don't know if I've seen one of those before. This Premier, unfortunately, is not mine. But yeah, without going into details, I have a little deal with my mate that it gets to stay here and we can use it. It's like the shed Premier, and he gets free storage. Probably the VL, mate. Probably the VL. Now, it's a little bit messy at the moment. I've taken out the front seats to get retrimmed. I've taken off the door cards on the rear to pull this rubber out. So my next step is to undo the adjuster on the regulator and pull the glass out. But we're not quite there yet. And the door cards are just over here. Oh no, just over here. Actually, this is my little SS corner. This is probably one of the rarest parts in the shed. If we peel this back, this is off my old ute. I used to have an SS50. Those badges are really hard to find because no one makes them anymore. They're all stickers. And this is an SS50 engine cover. And you can tell it's different because it's got the yellow rather than the white. Very rare. Not worth anything, but it's rare. What else do I have? The XR8. Not my car, unfortunately, but it is here. This is a pretty rare thing, being a manual FG XR8. Not that many in manual. I think it was only around 1,500 built, something like that. And I think in manual was around 400. So this is one of those. I'm a bit fuzzy on the numbers. I can't quite remember exactly, but it's something like that. This car is mine, with the swirlies. So this is the VS wagon. This is the car that will probably get attention first as soon as we get the hoist in. Sorry, it's a little bit dark over here, guys, but interior is spotless. It's a very low-K car. It's got 140,000 Ks on it. I had half the car or so repainted, and under here is L67, and it's a half rebuilt motor. Like, got the heads rebuilt, and up is all new. Hello, Daniel. How are you, mate? Love that live view. I love it too, mate. This is genuinely one of my favourite cars in here. The owner only paid $400 for this, running, driving, everything. It did need a fuel pump, but that's about it. The interior, you probably can't see, but the interior is really, really good. Factory manual. It is a little bit rough around the edges, but it's a very honest car. So I guess the next one, now we're in VN country now. This is mine. This one is mine. It's got 150,000 Ks on it or something. It's just a V6 auto. It's actually the most expensive car that I've bought in some time. So I paid $7,000 for this. But it is one of the best driving VNs I've ever driven. Silver V. No, unfortunately, this one's not mine, mate. No, and this one is not mine either. This one looks like garbage on the outside, but it's actually really straight, and it's the weirdest combination VN I've ever seen because it's got the Palomino red interior on a blue car. And believe it or not, that is one of the best running cars in here. This actually has less Ks than this. So that's, I guess the only other car in here is it is a Grandpa Mobile, that's right. The only other car in here is this VN wagon. little spider there. And this is just a total grandpa spec VN. Oh, that door's locked, but a very, very honest car. 150. So, I also have the VT Calais 5 litre and my red VN 5 litre, which are at my house. So they're not here. So no, the V8s aren't here, other than the Falcon. So the V8s are at my house. I might later on. I might bring them here. I don't know. It certainly does, mate. It certainly does need some love. Sorry, I don't usually wear a scarf, guys, but it is ridiculously cold. You can imagine how bloody cold the shed is. So yeah, there are no. Yeah, me too, Bill. Me too, mate. I am terrified of scarf. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. There are more cars as well on the channel, but I've just held off announcing them. There's a lot of cool stuff. Yes, I am, mate. Yep. Yeah, there are more cars on the channel, more cars coming, especially some that will take us some shed space. And no, I haven't, Mark, no. And I've had a lot of requests for that, actually. Had a lot of requests. Surprised me. But I've done VYSSs and VZSSs. I'd love to do a VZ 6 litre, which I think I might have one booked. I'd have to double check, but sorry, I'm not just on my phone. I'm just looking at the Instagram story. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I would love a ute. I used to have an SS ute back in the day. Back when you could get them for nothing. The white Lexan, so what happened with that is the bloke who bought it lived in Sydney. So I drove it up there and he picked it up. So I'm not sure, I haven't seen it since, but that car was so cool. Yeah, I'd love to do a VK wagon, mate, if he's got a good, honest old thing. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Minty Fresh. Very, very cool. Thank you, YouTube 101. I appreciate that, mate. I really do. That's very kind. I really... Oh, sorry, guys. Like an old man using this. I really appreciate that. That Lexan was really cool. Sorry, I'm just... Pot belly. That's not a bad idea, mate, honestly. It's freezing in here. Thanks, mate. Do the V8s cost more than the V6? To buy, absolutely. To run, yeah, but not as much as you'd probably think. My VN is like a built motor, like it's got oversized pistons and all that kind of stuff. So that one is expensive to run, but the VT that's a standard motor, no, it's pretty similar. Thank you, Minty Fresh. I really appreciate that. How long does it take to put a video together? And what are the upcoming cars? Well, I'm filming an XE tomorrow morning, which is pretty cool. It would have to be more than 500, I reckon, that I've tagged. So the biggest challenge of doing it is traveling there, because usually the cars are quite special, and fair enough, a lot of people don't want to move them a big distance. So I've got to figure out how to get there And if it's far away, then I've got to make sure that it's financially viable. So if I do a couple of cars or whatever, it's not all about money, of course, but I don't want to sink. So I just have to make sure that it makes sense. But where's my chat here? Straight up. That's really funny, Billy. Oh, William, sorry. And how long does it take to edit the videos? I'm lucky enough I have an editor now, which is pretty cool. All the reels and stuff, I still do that, but any of the long form, I only do the last 5% now. So when I was doing them, maybe a proper overview, if you sit down, maybe like 8 to 10 hours. But I find it's best if I go back like the next day, because otherwise my brain's had enough. The point of view driving ones, I don't know if you guys have seen those, I have a little GoPro, they take like an hour. So if I'm stretched by time, I usually do those ones, which has been the case on a few cars. Probably the XE out of those two. I think so, mate. Yeah, I think it is an ESP, and it's yellow, which is pretty cool. VT Series 1. Very cool, YouTuber 101. Very cool. Actually, I'll show you a photo of the XE. If you guys are watching this in the future, then you'll already see it, right? It is here you go. That's the one tomorrow. Very cool, and yeah, it is. It's a 6. So, very cool. I'm excited. Something different. I don't mind doing Falcons, especially when they look like that. I like that. So, bit of a teaser. Yeah, I think it is a 250. Yep. Ooh. Yeah, it is mint. It is mint. I haven't seen it in person, but it looks pretty cool. Wow, 25,000. That's cool. Good question, Bill. I actually have no idea. It's an auto. Look, obviously manual is my preference, but with older cars, you can't always choose a lot of the time, and especially because this one's in such a cool color, I thought I'd feature it. And yeah, people I don't know, I feel like I've broken through the barrier of having Falcons on the channel. I really don't mind them. Obviously it's a good way to have more audience, and that's never a bad thing. Yeah, it is an S-Pack, yep. But I like doing them because they're part of the story. And, if you watch, one of my favorite channels at the moment is Brockaholic. And if you watch his videos, a lot of the comparisons they do between the EAE and the VN, or the EL and the VR, or whatever it is, they always have the comparison right there. I do a ZJ, absolutely. Absolutely. They're really cool. Three Teslas around me. That's funny, right? XP. Constantly had round operators. That does sound quite strange, but I would have loved to see it. It sounds really cool. I love hearing all those stories, and like the black tea. Yeah, it must be. But honestly, I'm not too sure, mate. Other than that photo that I had before, which I can show you again. Oldest car I've driven would be. There we go. That's the only photo I have. Oldest car I've driven would be that EH, I reckon. I had that earlier this week. I think it's 63. I think it was. Yeah, you're not wrong, Stephen. It's going to start snowing in the shed anytime soon. It is bloody freezing. Anything up north? Am I ever doing something further north, Epping or further? Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind travelling for cars. Not at all. I'm going to Canberra next week. I haven't really announced that yet, so here's a little inside scoop. But yeah, I'm going there next week. Right now, I've only got one car lined up, which I said is it's a VL walkie, but it's a very, very special one. Even more special than a normal VL walkie, which is pretty cool. It's worth travelling for. And some other cool stuff. What was that? They certainly will be a thing of the past soon, mate. They certainly will be. And that is why it's important to document them. Someone said, when am I doing an XY? I actually did one, but I was only able to have it for about half an hour, so I didn't get to do... I only got to drive it 100 metres. Okay, there you go. Newer than 82 Series 2 mid. All right, I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. But yeah, they're a good-looking thing, that's for sure. And I've never driven... yeah, absolutely. No, you. Absolutely, I would. That sounds great. Longest trip you drove... for the chat, since I've been doing videos, the longest trip I've driven would be the Toyota Lexan from Phillip Island area to Sydney. But before that would probably be, I've done Sydney to Geelong in a VYS pack, but that was before I did the channel. And I've done Uluru to Alice Springs and back in the same day in a Mitsubishi ASX. Thank you, I appreciate that. I would do a Holden Rodeo actually. If I could find one that was in tip-top nick, yeah, I would. Just to let you know, Lloyd's Auctions. Oh, interesting, Big Bird. I appreciate that comment. I'll definitely have a look into that. Sir Dino, 9, I believe. Yeah, 9. That's awesome, Dave. That's very cool. VL walkies alone are pretty cool, pretty special. Would you do a one-off? I would, Mark. I would actually. I don't mind those things. 3-litre Captiva. You know what? This is one of the problems. Would I do a Captiva? Most of that video would be negative, and I'm not sure how many people would enjoy that on their own car. XF Falcon. That is a HT Prem behind me, mate. HT Prem. HT Premier. So it's like the Calais equivalent. Old cars are good investment still. Look, the problem with cars as an investment is It is beautiful. It is a beautiful car. The problem with cars as an investment is, number one, you've got to hold on to them for a really long time, most cases, right? Unless you're buying one-off supercars, Paganis and stuff like that. If you're buying normal people cars, you got to hold on to them for a long time, and you've got to keep them, well, that's true as well. You've got to get them cheap enough, and you've also got to keep them in dry storage, and that alone is expensive. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. I'm trying to stay warm. It is bloody freezing. But dry storage, I mean, to have a factory like this is, you'd be paying $5-6 grand a month. And if you're paying that for a factory to lease, I guess, look, you might do better if it's at home. But yeah, the overheads are significant if you got a lot of them. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. The shed's actually not that old, but it was used as a shed to make clothing, believe it or not. That's why it had all that insulation and crap that was in here before. 1969 Mustangs, I don't believe so, but if I'm offered one, I would do one. And I think probably the most likely would be with Motivation Garage. But, I never thought about that, Mick 0408. That is a really good point. But, yeah. Yeah, you know what, Dave? Me too. And I think a lot of people are past the rivalry stage. Not everybody, of course, but I think a lot of people are. And they're sort of, now the rivalry has changed between Ford and Holden. It's kind of changed to Australian cars versus everyone else. And I welcome that. It is very expensive to build anything, that is true. It would cost a fortune to get the council involved to build, like if you had land to build this on, it would be, yeah. I'm sure a lot of people get it, but a lot of people say, why don't I buy land and build a shed like this? Obviously without giving away my location, for you to buy land here and build this shed would be millions. Obviously the land, but the shed would be a lot. Getting the concrete would be 30 odd grand. Like, it would just be a wild expense. Yeah, exactly right, Nate. Exactly right, Daniel. Exactly right. Thank you, Big Bird Racing. I appreciate that. And that's why I don't mind featuring anything Falcon. It's a friendly competition, right? They are, how do I say, they are competitors, but they're not enemies. And the reality is both of them made mistakes and both of them produced really good cars. I mean, there is not really significant outlier from any of the cars made in Australia that were maybe not great. Ones that come to mind is, I know that the early EAs had a lot of transmission problems, but on the same side, Holden had a lot of issues with the early LS1s in the Series 2 VT, and they had a lot of issues with the Alloytex and a lot of the other cars that Holden had that weren't Holden, like the Captiva, the Cruise and all that. A lot of those cars are just terrible. Yeah, space and tools to work. That's good advice. Yes, cars. Very true, Jack. Oh, Mark 180 SX. I actually have watched his videos for ages. I have to admit, I don't really watch a lot of people anymore, other than James May. I'm addicted to his stuff. But I do remember him putting like an LS1 in his patrol, I think. But that was like 8 years ago, I reckon. It was a really, really long time ago. And I know he's got the 32, the VYSS, that red one. The 180, obviously. He's got heaps and heaps of stuff. And I appreciate the hustle. Yeah, that would be cool, actually. I was lucky enough, I have met them. And we got along really, really well. So, yeah, maybe that will happen one day. It's all logistics. Just everyone is very busy, including myself. Oh, really? That's cool. That's cool. Trying to get... It's the hardest thing about doing the channel is lining everything up with... you know what, Wacky09? You're absolutely right. I don't know if you know, but James May is coming to Australia and New Zealand to do this like space talk. Talk about... Actually, you know what? I don't even know what the subject is, but as soon as I saw that he was coming, I bought... Jeez. Now, as soon as I saw that he was coming, I booked tickets straight away. That's actually why I'm going to Canberra next week. I'm really, really excited to go to that. That's going to be fantastic. I'm not sure whether I'm going to drive or fly yet. I haven't booked anything. It's only an hour flight, but it's a couple $100. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. It's jarring, but it works. Lurpak. Yep, Lurpak spreadable butter, invented in 1901 or 1903. Yeah, mate. That's awesome to hear, mate. I am thinking about driving my car up to Canberra. What was for dinner tonight? I don't know if stew is the right word, but it's almost like a curry. Obviously, you guys might not know, but my girlfriend is Japanese, and so I have been blessed with Japanese food at home very, very often, and it is fantastic. It is fantastic. I love Japanese food, and even if it's basic stuff, I'm addicted to it, and I can't wait to go back to Japan. It's one of the, I'm not really into I'm not even particularly into Japanese cars in the way that some people are, and I'm not into Japanese anime, anything like that at all. But I do really I very much like some aspects of their culture. But there are some that aren't so great either. So, like Australia, nowhere is perfect. A gold car I would love to have. I'd love to have a VL turbo in the shed. I'd love a HQ Ute 253 with a Aussie 4-speed. And I think that these are pretty realistic goals. But I've just got to... Yeah, the shed has kind of been storage at the moment, but working out how things are going to work has been really challenging. To make it a viable factory, yeah, me too, Daniel. To make it of course, I'm not doing everything for money. You'd burn out if you're doing for money, but to make things last, I have to figure out how to make it financially sustainable. To have a factory where I work on cars, maybe I save some Holdens, and all doing that at no cost to anyone else. So I've got to figure that out, but I'll do that. I'll figure it out. Awesome, Bill. Exactly, Daniel. Exactly right. You need money to make money. That is 100% correct. I don't often, or maybe I do, sometimes I talk about money, but I think it's important. A lot of people don't talk about it, but the reality is if you don't have money, your life is much harder than it is when you have it, which is a shame, but that's the truth of it. And if you, oh, that's awesome, HQ lover. That's really cool. Use time. Alex, in analog, I want to visit as many of the old arcades. Well, you know what? I really like those old arcades. I've been lucky enough that I've been to a few. I've been to a few back. They also got rid of, I really, really like these, but they're not around anymore. They're kind of like a video game cafe. And this was actually like a common date spot. And this is where I went when I was there as an early date with my girlfriend now. And it was fantastic. It was like it sounds kind of weird as a video game bar in Australia, but over there it's completely different. There's heaps of, let's be honest, there wouldn't be many girls really at one here, but over there it was like 50-50. And it was awesome. So we rented a little spot and I had a switch and there was like a curry bar, alcohol bar, and it was like $30 an hour, but you got unlimited alcohol and curry, and you could use whatever system you wanted. It was just a really, really good thing. But they were sued by Nintendo, so they're all gone. Do I prefer old cars? I don't mind built motors. I really don't mind built motors, but my preference is original motors, maybe with a cam and stuff. But I really, again, each to their own, but I really prefer original interior 99% of the time. That's my preference. Very, very hard to find those, mate. Charge E49. I don't know if I've even seen one other than photos. Four-wheel drives are awesome, but like burnout cars and stuff. You're abusing the car in a different way. You're enjoying the car, and it's an expensive hobby. So, I wouldn't mind delving into it at one point. And I think it would be enjoyable for people to watch because I'm a total novice. I've never done it really, and I think people would enjoy watching somebody that has no idea what they're doing give it a crack. Oh, that's awesome, Daniel. That's good. How's the FG been treating me? Fantastic, mate. Honestly, I've done, just today, I think, we just hit 10,000 Ks on it since I bought it. Not one, sorry guys, 1 second. Not one issue with it, nothing. The only thing that it needs is a service now. So if we take it up to Canberra the next few days, I'll do that before we go. But FG has been perfect. What's the limit on how old a car should be to be restored? I guess there's no real limit. I guess cars that are 20 years old now are probably starting to get some. Thank you, No You. I appreciate that, mate. BSU. Bikes and beats. I don't know if you'd be able to, or it might take some engineering to figure out how to get your column to work with an LS. But yeah, look, my preference is 5 litre, or, just like, it's not a 5 litre, but I like the old 5 litres, so that would be my preference. I'm not the biggest fan of the LSs in the earlier cars, but that's just my preference. You don't have to. It is very cold, Barracuda. Very, very cold. How's that HQ GTS? $4,000 fucking hell. It was really, really cool, the purple and pink one. That car was also cool. It was a famous person. If you guys know Shane Delia, he owns a lot of restaurants in Melbourne. He's on TV all the time. That was actually his car, so that was really cool. Why are there so few FBFC? That is a good question, mate. And I think that, well, rust is the biggest thing, original ones. And I think that a lot of those cars, number one, are hiding. And number two is a lot of the younger generation has no connection to those cars at all, which is a shame because they are very enjoyable to drive. I think that they're a little bit forgotten about. Everyone wants a HQ. Everyone wants a Kinga or a VL or a VRVS now. It does look a bit like that, doesn't it? It does look a bit like that. That's quite funny. Really, Michael, I did not know that, mate. I really appreciate that comment. The first Holden is the Nation Museum. I will 100% go there. So I really appreciate that, mate. Thank you. I would have been spewing if I missed that. 12 years, a couple of years ago, now it's worth nothing. What's your take on the market now? Look, unfortunately, mate, you probably didn't overpay for the car, but the market is just cooked. I'm not sure where you are, but if you're in Victoria like me, Victoria is having a lot of problems. I'm sure that that's no surprise to anybody. And because we're having so many societal problems in Victoria, I think a lot of cars suffer from that because a lot of people have no money, or they have a lot of money, and the RTV, as I think it's a cool thing, but if you have a lot of money, it might not really be up your alley. Look, it's hard. I think it's cool. I like RTVs. Unfortunately, you may have to take the loss if you want to sell it, but it's not really your fault. The whole market is down. Yeah, it kind of sucks. But I think until the cost of living is, and people have a roof over their head and they've got disposable income, and I think we're a really long way away from that happening, if ever again, which is a shame. I remember even if 5 years ago, I feel like life was a lot easier. But again, it's hard because I don't live a normal life. My life is very unusual. I'm quite removed from reality, so I don't know. I think a lot of people are unhappy, and I can feel that. I'm lucky enough that I get to meet people all the time, and it's quite rare that I meet new people that are happy, which is kind of sad. Actually, that is sad. Most people are quite sad, worried about, they might not be worried about food in their stomach, which is great, but they'll be worried about housing for their kids. It's just depressing. Anyway, I'll move on from that topic because it can be upset. Decent VRVS SS. Look, it's hard to know, but you'd probably be mid-teens, which is pretty low considering. I don't want to talk about it, but when I was at that bloody auction the other day, there's so much to talk about with that thing. One day. But that auction, there was some VRVS SSs there. I was stunned that they didn't sell. Like one of them, it had me a small hit in the front. It was a BT1 manual SS, and it didn't even get $2,000, which really surprised me. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's right, Daniel. You're 100% right. I would love to go to Thailand to check some out. That would be very cool. Hippie Trave says. Yeah, that's awesome, mate. I will check him out. How do I convince my old man to give me the one? I mean, I just ask him what he's going to do with it. If it's been sitting for 14 years, let's be honest, he's probably not going to be doing anything with it. And it probably needs a good going over if it's not stuffed, if I'm honest. Depends where it's been sitting. Yeah, Mike, I was surprised too. It had a minor hit in the front. The rad support was needed replacing, but it wasn't that bad. Like the guards weren't bent, the bonnet was okay. I do like dire straights. A lot of cold chisel. Really, Grant? No way. Honestly, Grant, if you send me an email, I reckon we can work something out. I love travelling. I've been to Thailand quite a few times, and yeah, that's really interesting. I'd love to do that, and I'd love to go to Europe as well and get some of their like Vauxhall Cavaliers and all that stuff. But it's my audience is 99% Australian, so it is cool. I really appreciate that, mate. I might take you up on that. Yeah. I hear what you say about no disposable income, Dave, and the thing is, you can't blame yourself really, because, man, it is. A lot of people are doing it tough, and some. It's hard, right? Because I'm very, very, very lucky that I get to do this for a job, and of course, because I'm visiting people that have really expensive cars, a lot of the time the cost of living doesn't really. Yeah, it's a news headline to them, and that's all. So sometimes I'm just in my own little world, but the reality is most people are doing it tough, and that is why I'd love to do more of those, the giveaways, but I've got to figure out a way to make it more sustainable. I haven't got an R31 lined up, but I would love to do one. Kind of the Japanese VL. I do watch Redriven, yes, and my favourite part is when they, I hope this isn't offensive, I love the whole video, but my favourite part is hearing what's wrong with them. And sometimes you can go in the video and you can see how long that section is. Scotty is doing really good. The first car I ever owned was a SV6 Ute. That car actually wasn't that great. I was 16 years old. I bought that from a dealership. It was my first car. 6-speed manual, and bought it in 2013. I think it was $22,000. And that car had so many problems. It was a brilliant car to drive. It used no fuel. But it kept having an issue where... yes, I'd love to. What am I doing this weekend, Saturday? Sorry, I've just seen... I am working. I am filming tomorrow, but I'm not filming Sunday, mate. So I'd love to. that I really apologise for that. If you guys don't know, I filmed this very patient man's car a long time ago, and it's the only car that I filmed that I've lost footage on, and I sent my phone away to get it recovered. I finally got most of it back, but there was one that where I was talking about stuff that I didn't get, and it was a quite important part of the car. So yeah, that's a shame. So yes, I would love to. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Jason. I appreciate that. Look, I'm actually quite fortunate. Most of my stuff, other than the giveaway car, is actually pretty good for paint and panel. And I think it would be a good thing in... oh, perfect. Perfect, mate. I think it would be cool, and I think you guys would enjoy it, is if I get a car that needs paint, I want to give it... Sounds good, mate. I'll give you a ring. If I get a car that needs paint, I'd like to give it a crack because I am a total novice, but I have been involved with a few resprays and I'd like to try it. I think that would be interesting because they're obviously experts. Everyone's going to have their say. I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes, but I don't really care because I'm learning, right? I think it would be good. I don't want to do it on a big dollar car. Thank you, Nathan. I would love to do one too. I have done one previously, but my audience was quite a bit smaller back then, so I wouldn't mind doing another one. Yeah, exactly, Mike or Mick 0408, and they'll be able to see any mistakes that I make, which I'm sure there'll be some, because it's a real trade. It is not just sand and paint. There is a lot to know, and I'd love to give it a crack. Thank you, DK. I appreciate that, mate. I'll probably wind up soon anyway, but yes, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. What was that other question? But yeah, I would like to do another car meet soon. I think I'm Western Suburbs, Sir Dino. But yeah, I would like to... I'd really like to host another car meet. And I reckon maybe when I get back from Canberra, I think I'm going to make it happen. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate you for following along. I think I'll probably call it there. I really appreciate you guys for following along, but it is, I'm freezing to death in the shed over here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following along. And hopefully I answered all your questions. I did try and answer everything, but I'll probably do these regularly. Maybe, DK, maybe. I'm not sure whether I'll drive up yet or what I'm going to do, but I'll be there very soon. Anyway, thank you guys for following along. Thank you for commenting, and thank you, Rob. I really appreciate that comment, mate. That's really nice. But have a good one, guys. Thank you for following, and hopefully you enjoyed. And yeah, I'll probably do these every Friday night, I think. So hope you guys enjoyed. Good night. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that, mate.